Hello, Mystic Travelers, and welcome to the Living Oracle, where we just intuitively read oracle cards to get a message for you. Let's start here. We got Luna Moth Goddess to get you started today. Okay, so it's actually kind of interesting because I've seen a lot of Luna Moths. They like to land on my front door, and my understanding of Luna Moths is that they only live like I want to say less than 2 weeks, somewhere like around 11 days or something. And they have moths have a lot about renewal. And the Luna moth specifically, it has a theme of sort of like inner wisdom and, being a moth, something that lives such a short period of time. There's also the feeling of making the most of the time that you have, if that makes sense. Because there's so much magic, there's so much wisdom in your heart, in your life, that maybe you're not reaching exactly because, it can be very difficult to reach those things when you're distracted by, the things on the survival scale, Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, when you're distracted with drama or, working or making sure you have enough food, making sure you have shelter, taking care of your kids, whatever it is, it can be really, really difficult to take the time to get in touch with that sacred part of yourself, Luna with the moon. The idea of embracing, the moon energy. The moon is in cycles, right? And the other thing about moths, I don't know about if this is all moths, but I know some moths, they don't actually eat while they're a moth. They only eat while they're, like, before they become a moth. They don't even have a mouth. Like, a lot of moths don't even have mouths. So with that being said, I would say, where are you getting your nourishment, right? What is nourishing you in mind, body, and spirit? I also love that there's a dragonfly here, because a dragonfly is another very strong transmutation insect. It transmutes from water when it's like in its baby stage. People say, I'm not sure exactly what stage, but like basically when it's still, they lay the eggs in the water and then they come out and then they move into the air and they're flying. And so it's like the transmutation of being a strictly emotional creature in the water to being more of the mind and the air, and how can you balance those two? Loyal friend, a wise, supportive person. We were talking about wisdom with the moth there. And you, I'm sure, are a very wise, supportive, loyal friend. Who's doing that for you? Reciprocity, look at that. Who's doing that for you? Give help. You're good at that. What about this receive help part? What about this receive help part? Where in your life are you unable to accept reciprocity? Look at all this flying metaphors. So I would say there's a good chance that you have felt trapped by a lot of the situations you're in. And I would also invite you to ask yourself, some of the situations you're in, are you in them because you just couldn't say no? Even though you could say no, maybe you just couldn't bring yourself to say no because you would feel like, maybe I'm a bad person. I won't be a wise, supportive friend. But, wisdom also has to do with knowing when to say no. Wisdom also has to do with knowing when to put that love and pour that into yourself, or when to accept, when to ask for help, when to accept. You've been a loyal friend. And if you're scared that the people you're around are going to reject you for asking for reciprocity, then you're holding that entire relationship together anyway, right? Yeah, you've been going down this path a long time, and the pieces are coming together in your head. The pieces that say, I can't give endlessly without any reciprocity. That I am a wise person, but is it wise of me to keep supporting and holding on to other people who are draining me and I'm not getting much back? Look at that. A lot of bees. You know, bees are about a few things. Number one, they're about hive mind. So once again, that's the idea. Are you working from subconscious programs about what your role is supposed to be? And it's just so ingrained in you that you don't even see the pattern. You know, I used to have bees and they're a lot of work, but I will tell you what's so fascinating about it. So like in a hive, you know, there's like the queen bee and then there's the drones, which like breed with the queen. And then the rest, you know, for the most part, like worker bees. But somehow the worker bees know what their assignment is. Is their assignment to be, there's like mortuary bees that like literally take care of the dead bees and get rid of them. There are bees that go and collect nectar. There are nurse bees that take care of the brood, the baby bees. And so think about how somehow that's almost like genetically ingrained in them to know. And so what is so ingrained with you that you're blind to it? What programs are you walking through your life on? You're putting these puzzle pieces together, and it's scary because when you've built your life on this foundation, it's terrifying to think of what you might lose if you let these surface level kind of masks go and step into your true self, because there's going to be some people who are going to reject you. And I also get the message of like busy as a bee. So like a lot of times probably you distract yourself in order to not have to deal with this, because it's easier to just say, oh, they'll do the same for me if I need it, even though there's always maybe some exception about why other people maybe don't reciprocate. So on these two ends, we have these different insects, right? We have Luna moth, we have transformation, we have the moon energy, we have cycles energy. And then over here we have hive mind energy, busy energy. And, you know, but also, of course, in this reading, that's what this represents. But I also want to just take a minute to say bees are amazing and wonderful, and they save our world. So, you know, even though there might be sometimes some negative connotations in a reading about a certain insect or something, you know, everything has its place, except maybe mosquitoes. Should I have pulled it this way? Security. You may feel uncertain about your safety and security, or external events may be shaking your foundation. Okay, so once again, you're feeling in your mind these puzzle pieces clicking into place that maybe you're not, that life isn't exactly what you thought it was. And that, you know, I get a lot of burnt out energy here. So, you know, I feel so much compassion, you know, as a person who's burnt out a zillion times in her life because of this exact issue. Because, you know, I work so much from my empathy and my compassion, and so then I go through those cycles, like you're saying, you probably do too, go through cycles where you can give and give and give, and then you crash and burn, right? You crash out. And that leaves you in a sense of insecurity, instability. You don't know when you're going to crash out again. And you don't know when someone's going to ask you something, and you're going to feel like you have to say no, but you really struggle to. You just say yes anyway. And this is an invitation to, I want to make sure I do this correctly, to hold boundaries when you need to, when someone is asking you to do something and you really just can't handle it. And from my own experience too, there's been times where I finally was like, you know, I'm overwhelmed. I want to support you how I can, but I can only support you in this way right now because I'm too overwhelmed and I can't support you in this way. And when that happens, a lot of times, if it's someone you have not held boundaries with before, even someone you love and someone who's wonderful, they might lash out at you. And so just be prepared that that might happen. And, you know, don't take it personally, because if they're a true friend, a true good person, someone who truly is loyal and reciprocal, they'll come back and apologize. But I just want to let you know that when you, even with good people, when you hold the boundaries the first time, they're not getting some support they expect. But, you know, if they're true friends, if they're truly good people, then if they do lash out a little bit, they'll come back and say, hey, I was overwhelmed too. I'm sorry. Of course, that wasn't your responsibility, but thank you for the things that you did offer and all that kind of thing. So we had boundaries in reverse here, and it says boundaries are blurred or being overstepped, leaving you feeling overwhelmed or drained. It's time to reinforce your limits. And as a highly sensitive person myself, I just want to say boundaries are almost like, first of all, for most of my life, I didn't understand what that boundaries existed. And second of all, even though I've understood boundaries for quite a while now, a long time now, I I feel like everything is an exception to the rule. And so I have to consciously, every single day, I have to consciously say, is this something I can actually do? So I kind of have to make rules and systems around it. And I don't know if it'll help you or not, but I'll tell you what it is. So basically, everyone in my life that I know, they know when they ask me to do something, as long as it's not something like this second that needs to be done, that I'm going to say, you've got to give me some time to think about it. Because if I say, I'll say yes that second. So they learn to say, Jazz, I have this thing. Can you do it for me? It'll be in 1 or 2 days. Or can you give me an answer by Thursday? And so they actually kind of, part of their being a friend to me, in the same way that I give to them, is saying, I respect the fact that you're always going to say yes, even when it will deplete you. And so I'm going to tell you ahead of time to give you time to process and think about it. Intuition. Yeah, and when you're able to do that, you're not going to be answering questions and agreeing to things based on program fears, based on expectations, based on the fear of hurting someone's feelings or disappointing somebody or leaving someone else in a lurch. Because when you give yourself that time between, the obligation and deciding around the obligation, holding that boundary, you will start hearing your intuition over the programs again about whether you can truly handle what this is. Okay. I usually use these as shadow cards. So this will kind of help us. We kind of see what's going on here and what I would definitely say start setting up systems in your life to where the boundaries and security becomes easier. I think one of the things that we try to do is willpower our way through things that are so programmed into us that they're almost impossible to willpower through. And so in order to get to a place where you can just overcome it consciously, you've got to start working with the way your brain works. You've got to start working with your system, the way that your system works, in order to get those steps ahead and then maybe start rewriting, right? And so one thing people do not talk about enough is that, like, we have this like fierce independence idea in so many cultures, but definitely in Western cultures and in the United States, to the point where we won't even acknowledge that some of our internal problems come from the outside. Now, some people are always saying, oh, everything is not my fault. But a lot of people, a lot of empathic people, empathetic people, sympathetic people, people who end up on channels like this who are trying to do shadow work and be better for themselves and for the world, they find themselves in this space of wanting to help and to help and to help. And they give and they give and they give, and they can't stop. And so therefore, that's why building systems that protect you. So like, I have like very specific rules when I date, right? About like how the stages go. Like the first thing's always a coffee date because I don't want to be obligated to stay with them through dinner if they're freaking me out, different things like that. But it's the same thing even in your personal life. Like I said, when I work, like my sisters, if they need help with something, they come to me and they say, hey, can you help me with this later today? And that gives me some time and space to process and get ready and decide if I can truly handle that today or not, right? These cards come up so much. Like, I have this giant deck, and like, I feel like there's so many cards in there that have never been seen because the same cards come up a lot. Okay. So there's a card in one deck that says bubble your boundaries, and I'm just feeling that right now. Because right now you do feel like you're kind of, I feel like a facade, like you're playing a game that might not be authentic to you. And these two cards are very much about like public image and control. And so here's the question. And this is a really hard question to sit with. So remember, be gentle on yourself. When I had to ask myself this question, I was really upset with myself. How much of what you do in this way is out of fear of how you're going to be seen, that you're going to be seen as a bad person? Now, I know that you're empathetic and you want to help just for its own sake as well. But how much are you scared that you won't be seen as a loyal friend, or that you won't be seen as a good person? How much do you feel like that things are transactional? You're always going to feel insecure if you feel like things are transactional. And so transactional things feel like, if I don't do these things, then I will lose my friends. But remember, if you lose a friend because of something like that, then maybe they weren't who you thought they were. The only way you can keep the friend is for you to do everything and them do nothing, then you're going to find it real, then that's not a real friendship. That's a one-sided thing. And that's not going to really help you in your life, right? That's going to be a drain on your limited energy, your limited resources. And, I said earlier, highly sensitive person, because I feel like if you're on this reading and it's resonating with you, you have a heart of gold. You see the best in people. You give, for the most part, you give because you love giving and you really want to make people feel good. But like I said, there's always that aspect in there of like, I'm going to lose this friendship. I'm going to lose this person if I hold a boundary. And remember, that is old programming from childhood that came from, sometimes parents said it directly, but usually it's society saying like, you have to earn everything, including love, right? And so, all right, let's give you one quick affirmation card before we close this oracle reading out. You are powerful. You are not a puppet on a string. So you are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And sometimes when you are in that space, you are not understood, and not being understood can be it can make you feel like you're wrong or you're stupid or something. But no, it's not true. You just think differently, and that's okay. It's beautiful, actually. It's just a messed up society that says thinking differently makes you weird or bad. Feel the feeling, but don't become the emotion. Witness it, allow it, and release it. I've been talking about this the last few weeks because I started doing this exercise where I just literally let my emotions move around my torso without projecting a story onto them. And oh my goodness, it's amazing, because when you do this for a while, it stops becoming painful and it starts just becoming a feeling. And you're like letting your body somatically process the feelings that you've pressed down and pushed away because it was too painful to feel. Because your emotions are, like I always say, they're like giant arrows pointing to exactly what needs to be processed, exactly what needs to be worked on, exactly what you need to do. Just like hitting your toe and you get a jolt of pain is a signal that, hey, I hurt my toe. Take a look at this and make sure it's not broken. All right, beloved Mystic Travelers, thank you so much for being here. And please let me know in the comments if these readings are resonating with you, if you like this new style, as well as the other ones. And, I'm here for you. Please, we have a small community, but I respond to every comment that I can. And I also do offer personal readings, but they're for donation only. I don't like to put money between messages and people, right? Because if there's a paywall there, it's going to mess the message up. It's going to make me feel like I have to perform rather than just give you the authentic message, even if it's a difficult one. But I only do them when I have the extra time and energy. That's a boundary I have to keep. But if you would like to request one, just message the Mystics Mirror page on Facebook, and I'll put you on the list and be happy to do a reading or a spiritual healing with you. All right, beloveds, I will see you soon.